I, 36 male, was working every day as a dentist. I was the father of 2 young children and I trusted their mother, 30 female, more than anyone. She was supposed to be my rock, my life partner. Her dream was to travel around the world. She was very smart and acted for years like a respectable woman, so I wanted to make her dream come true. Even before our wedding day, it became impossible for me to picture living my life without her. We were married for 6 years before we had our first child. 4 years later, we had our second. Shortly after our second-born's 5th birthday, my wife celebrated 10 years of employment with her company. Our life was better than I ever could have asked for. We celebrated by hosting a party in our home. Several of her colleagues came over and it was only the second time I got to meet them in all those years. Everyone seemed really nice. Several people complimented me and my wife. All of them got to see or meet our kids, who got out of bed to investigate mom and dad's friends. I didn't notice anything weird about the party or the people there. My wife was a little excited and jittery, but that was how she usually got whenever she was at a social gathering. She didn't know it, but I was saving up money as fast as I could for a trip to Australia to celebrate our upcoming 20th wedding anniversary. I worked 6 days a week, so I was looking forward to this more than any old Sunday. I had the thought at least once a week that our area needed more dentists. Literally just days after the party we hosted, and days before I planned telling my wife and kids about the trip I had planned, my MIL texted me. All she said was, "She's cheating on you." I replied with lots of question marks, and when she didn't reply back, I called her. She sighed before admitting that there were lots of people who knew my wife was cheating on me. She started an affair about 2 years prior with one of her colleagues. Completely taken aback, I asked why she, nor anyone else ever told me about it. She said she didn't tell me about it because it was her daughter, and she didn't want to be the one to tell her secret. But after so long of an affair, she couldn't take it anymore, and reasoned that I deserved to know so either of us had a chance at getting married again. I couldn't believe my wife was shamelessly seeing another man, and none of her coworkers felt like telling me. Then she added that my wife was looking forward to this upcoming business trip. My wife told her that work trips were the only time she could feel guilt-free with AP. Then she admitted to her mother that she might be enjoying her affair more than her marriage. I asked my MAL what I was supposed to do about custody of the children, which I immediately regretted because she started saying that my wife was still an excellent mother, so I could let her have, and that's when I hung up. Now that I knew the truth, I was going to start taking my life back. I felt like a moron as I explained the situation to my lawyer. How had I not seen any signs? My lawyer suggested I obtain evidence of some kind before confronting her about it. So before she left me with the kids to go on the business trip she was so looking forward to, I asked her where it would be held and wrote down the address. She probably assumed I just asked for safety reasons. She kissed the kids goodbye, and then tried to kiss me. I pulled away, but she didn't ask me why. She just looked at me a moment before she shrugged and left. That's how I knew she didn't care about me anymore. I planned to surprise her at the address she gave me. I left her kids with my mom, who was very eager to see them. She lived independently, 45 minutes away from us, far enough that she wasn't comfortable driving, so having the kids at her house didn't happen very often. I needed her more than ever at this point. I arrived at the address of a fancy hotel. There were several luxurious rooms for social gatherings. I found the one for my wife's and started recognizing people as I walked around. I held my phone, recording as I searched for her. If she so shamelessly spent time with this man around her coworkers, I could think of no better way to get proof and confront her. People I met before stared at me, probably wondering where they knew me from. One woman gasped and didn't take her eyes off me. She knew this was it. My wife was busted. Several other people noticed me looking around and remembered who I was. By the time I made eye contact with my wife, we had an audience of about 80 people. She had another man's arm around her waist. I could tell that just a moment before she saw me, she was extremely comfortable having a marvelous time. I was shell-shocked. My wife dropped her wine glass as I felt my anger reach a point I never felt before in my life. All the years I spent with her and our children's faces flashed in my head. I thought about flipping over a table full of food, but I was recording her and AP at this moment. I was trembling as I rhetorically asked if anyone cared to tell me the truth about my wife. No one said a word. No one moved. I asked her directly why she cheated on me. Even though on the grand scale of things, it didn't matter why my wife cheated on me. I felt like I needed to know. I wanted her to explain on camera why I wasn't good enough for her in front of all the people she worked with. She looked extremely stupid when she just stammered that she didn't know why. I scoffed loudly and yelled that our kids deserved a better mother. Then I walked out. Later that night, after I was back at home with our kids, my MAL called, begging me to give my wife another chance. She said it wasn't her place to tell me what my wife was doing. I thanked her for telling me the truth because anyone deserves to know when they're being cheated on. She paused before asking me again to forgive my wife so she could come back home. She went on to explain that she didn't have room for her to move in and just flat out didn't want her to live with her. I laughed a hearty laugh and hung up. Neither her or her daughter cared about me. They were only thinking of themselves. For some reason, my MAL became annoyed by the fact that everyone knew about my wife's affair except for me. So she told me the truth because it was what she wanted to do. Now that it inconvenienced her, she wanted me to forgive her daughter. She didn't even say it was for her daughter's sake. She just wanted her house back. Wouldn't you believe that my wife called me just 2 days later asking me to forgive her because she didn't want to live with her mom? She said she was sorry, but I knew her tears were because she hated the consequences of cheating on me, not because she felt remorse for breaking apart our family. I had already uploaded the video online and attached it to an email to her company. She and AP lost their jobs already. I took this time to tell her that I saved up money for a trip to Australia, intending to celebrate our 20th anniversary, but now it was going to be a trick for me to celebrate being a father to two amazing kids. My mom would be taking her ticket. She didn't believe me at first, but then she started throwing a tantrum. This was the best and worst karma for her to experience. She was missing out on her lifelong dream that I made possible, all because she started a shameless 2-year-long affair with a colleague. I'm happy to say that the trip to Australia was absolutely incredible, and it really helped me to grow as a father and heal as a man. OP, I am so sorry your wife did this to you. You and the kids certainly deserved better than this from her, and you wanted better for her too. It's devastating that she did this to you without any concern for the family and life you had together. She behaved as though she could get away with it for as long as she wanted, and she really didn't expect anyone to rat her out. I guess it was the fine work of karma that got into your MAL's head and convinced her to rat out her own daughter. She basically said it was because she was tired of her getting away with it. There you have it. The betraying daughter is betrayed by her betraying mother. The circle continues. You did the right thing by confronting her, recording, and refusing to forgive her for this. I feel like a lot of people use the word forgive to pressure victims into being pushovers and allowing the person that hurt them to keep getting everything they want in life without any repercussions. Thank you for providing us an example of what a betrayed spouse should do. Never accept anything less than the vows your spouse made to you, and never give your spouse anything less than those vows. Whenever there's any kind of issue that puts a wedge between you and your significant other, an honest talk is the only way to try resolving the issue properly. In many cases, there isn't a specific problem with the relationship when one spouse starts a comparison game or gets a thought that festers into reasoning for them to cheat. Shut down that temptation as soon as it arises by talking to your partner honestly every day. Appreciate everything your spouse wants to share with you and work together to decide what needs to happen next. I wish you all the best. Now let's get into our second story for today. My wife, 27 female, and I, 28 male, got married young when we were 20 and 21. I met her through friends while I was attending college, and I fell in love. Before I met her, I never thought I'd let my guard down for a woman so quickly, but I believe we were meant to become a pair. I obtained my degree the same year my wife became pregnant. Life was moving fast for us, but I never felt worried or scared. My parents were a little. Her parents were thrilled she was settling down and staying out of trouble. She never told me much about her past, but she had a lot of friends. It seemed that for much of our relationship, if not all of it, I was sharing her with her friends. After she had our son, she went back to socializing and insisted I stay home to watch him while she went out at least once a week. I easily agreed to this. I felt like we were living the perfect dream. After a while, I wanted us to go out together, but my wife didn't trust either of our parents to watch our son. I thought that was pretty frustrating because they were supposed to help us and smother their grandson with love. So things stayed the same. She went out with her friends, then sometimes she watched the baby while I went out. I didn't like this separation. Before I got to talk to her about it, she started acting weirder. Each night she went out, she'd tell me which friends she was going to meet. She started to get scrambled and forgot which names she told me the next day. I pointed out her inconsistencies and how she was always vague about what they did each night. She got nervous and said she had to lie to her mom about who she hung out with because her mom hated one of the girls she spent time with, so that's why she got confused and told me the wrong story. I did not believe this at all. It was just alarming. How could she forget which truth to tell me? If her mom didn't like one of her friends, that isn't a very complex lie to keep straight, and it wouldn't mean she have to lie to me at all. I didn't want to cause an argument because I could tell my wife was in defense mode. While she was out another night, I called my MIL. I asked her who my wife said she went out with the night before. She was audibly uncomfortable and put on the spot. She cursed a little and sighed heavily. She assumed the jig was up and admitted my wife was seeing someone else because she had some growing up to do. I was shocked and hurt. My MIL justified my wife's cheating ways, blamed it on her immaturity. She assured me that my wife would learn from this if I could let it go this time. I hung up on her. I looked at my son and I felt broken, like I would never be the same after this. When my wife returned, I told her I knew everything. She looked at our son and instantly broke down. She told me she needed me to forgive her. She said exactly what her mom said, that she was young and stupid and made a bad decision. But she didn't deserve to lose our family. It was honestly really annoying to hear her talk about what she didn't deserve. She didn't deserve me, my trust, or the nice home we had as a family. I dedicated myself to her, even though I was just a year older than her. Why should I accept this when it's the one thing I never expected her to do? It's the one thing I decided I wouldn't tolerate in my marriage. With these thoughts fueling me, I told her to go stay with her mom. She took our son with her to her mom's. Anyway, it felt like she was trying to punish me for refusing to forgive her. During the divorce, I realized I needed to obtain solid evidence of my wife's affair. I knew I wouldn't be able to get anything from her or her mom directly, so I served subpoenas on my wife's cellular company. As soon as she heard about this, she in turn requested a protective order in an attempt to squash my efforts in proving her infidelity. Thankfully, the court saw what she was trying to do and sided with me. I had the right to engage in discovery which might lead to evidence of her adultery. To no one's surprise, blatant evidence of an affair was found. Images and texts sent between her and more than 5 other men. All the times she ever planned to go out with AP were there, along with the plans she made to hook up with 2 other men. I'm happy to say that I won primary custody and have since healed from this experience. I started dating a wonderful woman 1 year and 2 months ago today. She's a young widow with a young daughter. I can't explain it, but it feels like my story was already written. I know I was always meant to be with this woman, as much as I am meant to be a respectable father figure to her children. I feel like I've grown wiser and saw straight through my ex and her mother's manipulation tactics. P, you are absolutely right. You saw straight through their word flattery. They tried to make it seem like your wife's completely unacceptable betrayal was just a simple mistake because she had some growing up to do. That is no excuse, and it's no reason for you to stay with a cheater. She proved that she wasn't ready for marriage and that she didn't respect or love you. To stay with her just because she was young or immature would have been a grave mistake. She just opened the door to infidelity, comparisons, and wondering who else she could spread her legs for. You operated as an example for men put into a similar situation. Separate from the cheater, seek support and evidence, and do not accept anything less. At least you've done yourself a great favor by refusing to stay with her. I'm proud of you for how far you've come, and I wish you the best of luck in life. Thank you all for taking the time to listen to today's story. I'm 28 male, happily married to my wife, Sarah, 31. We've been together for over 6 years and married for 3 years. My mother, Laura, 45, had me pretty early on. She always wanted a big family and has been with my dad since they were teens. After she had me, she decided to be a stay-at-home mother, and in the space of 10 years had 7 kids. So, I have loads of siblings. She's recently announced that I'm to become a brother again. Sarah and I have been struggling to conceive for the past 3 years. We really would like to have a kid together and consider looking for other options, but my family talked us out of it, saying we shouldn't trust our child with some unknown woman. I have suggested my mother or my sister carry for us if they're that worried, but both of them declined, saying that they can't have any more children and won't be able to carry. My sister has 5 kids. And just to note, I love Sarah regardless if we have a child or not, and I'm willing to adopt, but she really wants us to have our own. Sarah and I have tried a lot of options, and recently, unfortunately, she had another loss, and this was really upsetting and depressing for both of us. So, I've shown my support, and my mother, who knew about our struggles in recent news, invited us out to dinner at her house yesterday to support and cheer Sarah up. Sarah wanted to attend as she has a very good relationship with my mother. My entire family was there, and the dinner was going well. Sarah congratulated my mother on her pregnancy, and I thought that would be it. Then my sister announced that she was pregnant again, and basically, she and my mother ended up having the baby talk really loudly, where my sister was excited to have another brother, and my mother wanted to have another grandchild. That was too much for Sarah, and she got up and left in tears, and I followed her shortly after. She had to cut off her family because they kept telling her she was not a woman for not being able to have children and was too old, and this got to her too much. After we got home, my mother called me and said Sarah behaves very rudely, and she was expecting an apology as it has ruined the dinner to celebrate life. I got angry and told her that she was completely out of line and inconsiderate for having the baby talk with my sister when she knew Sarah had another loss. And her life celebration dinner made things a lot worse for both Sarah and me. I've also said that we would not have come if she had told us what the dinner was about. In the end, I was called an idiot for not appreciating another life being born. Am I the idiot? Edit. To point out, my mother has told Sarah and me that the dinner was to support her after the loss. In no way or form did she mention this being about the celebration of life, pregnancy announcement, fertility lottery, and babies. We wouldn't have come if that was the case, and we were aware of it. Not the idiot, but let me get this straight. They have shot down options that you and your wife have considered. Firstly, they declined to carry for you because neither could have more children. Then they both spend the dinner allegedly planning to help consult your wife after a loss, loudly yapping about their pregnancies, the ones they claimed they couldn't have. Your mom and sister aren't the massive idiots here, and I say keep them out of any future family planning discussions entirely. I'm still shocked that OP will have a brother who's 29 years his junior. Or am I reading that wrong? Did they intentionally get knocked up to show off their functioning reproductive systems or something? Mommy, why did you and Daddy have so many kids? Well, dear, you and your brother are spite babies. Yeah. Tell me you hate my wife without telling me you hate my wife vibes. OP, do you see a pattern here? This did not happen by accident. They manipulated you out of pursuing other options and lied in the worst possible way to manipulate you both to show up for dinner. They knew how much it would hurt. It wasn't a bug. It was a feature. Your mother and sister are annoyingly sabotaging your wife and your happiness. I would say OP's mother and sister very likely feel superior to OP's wife since she cannot carry a pregnancy. However, these women are quite clearly able to get pregnant easily, and for many women being so fertile makes them feel superior as a woman. That's beyond cruel, and I cannot see how they have any respect for life when they behave this way. I'm so glad you supported your wife. It's so heartbreaking to hear that she had to deal with this because she received zero support from her own family. IT male have been in family therapy with my dad, his wife, her daughter, tween, and my half-siblings, kindergarten female, young male child. My dad married his wife when I was 9 and 15 months after my mom died. They met at a support group for people who had lost someone. Dad lost mom, and his wife had lost both her parents, close together, who were the people who helped her raise her daughter since the bio dad wasn't in the picture. Pretty quickly, her daughter started calling my dad, Dad. My dad's wife told me repeatedly in the first year that I could call her mom. She'd like it if I did. She'd love for me to call her daughter my sister instead of saying stepsister. She told me my mom would want me to have another mom, and that she'd want that for her daughter. So how about we drop the steps? We love each other like mom and son because that's what we legally are now. I said no. My dad told me I should give it a chance, that a mama's boy would do much better with another mom. It became pretty clear to them over the years that I was not into that idea. I used the half for my half siblings once they were born. I never dropped the step, and I never called his wife mom, not even slipping up in a conversation or with other people. This all bothered them. So 17 months ago, they decided we should all go to family therapy and help smooth out all the creases, which to them is the step and half titles. The therapist and I have talked a lot over the months, just the two of us. She's pretty cool and knows what they want isn't going to happen. My dad and his wife started saying they wanted help for us to be the perfect family, and the therapist will always use the language, let's find your family's version of perfect, whatever that may be, which I think makes sense because I know for me this will never be my perfect family. I also know they will never get the image they have in their heads. 3 weeks ago, we had a session with a fill-in therapist because our usual one is sick. During therapy, my stepsister felt really bad that I said stepsister after someone said I should take a photo with my sister. She also said she hates that I don't love her and she really felt it that day. Then her mom started talking about the perfect family thing. The therapist was not in control and had no idea what he was doing. I started getting mad because my dad and his wife were repeating the whole perfect family thing over and over again. I ended up saying we will never be the perfect family and I'll never see them as my ideal family, that I wouldn't even choose for them to be my family. It became a huge fight and I got grounded for 2 weeks for saying it. My dad told me he was tired of me not trying to make this family work and he told me I was out of line for saying what I did. Am I the idiot? Not the idiot. I'm so sorry that you lost your mother first and foremost. Secondly, your dad is a major idiot for trying to force you to feel a certain way about his new spouse and kids. And thirdly, he's a super turd for punishing you for what you expressed in therapy. This is something to discuss with your regular therapist next time because someone needs to straighten that man out. Reach out to your mom's family, particularly your grandparents. Let them know you were restricted from contacting them, but you're now old enough to do so on your own. Call, text, and video chat regularly. Build a relationship. Try to arrange a visit and outing. See if you get on with cousins your age. So sorry for your loss. You're not being unreasonable. Your father lacks empathy. He's decided not to face his grief but rush into another relationship. His anger at you is because you remind him of his failing to support you as a father and to deal with his grief properly. Your stepmother is an insecure idiot. My male teen, mom 39, remarried John 44. He has 2 daughters, Kayla, a young teen, and Janice, a teen. They were married about 4 years ago, and John's parents hate us. They don't like the fact that John remarried and hate me especially. But I think of John as my dad and Kayla and Janice as my sisters. So it was Kayla's birthday a few days ago, and her grandparents, who adore her, wanted to have a surprise party for her but keep it between family only. So when I heard of it, I was excited and helped with the cake, etc. On the day, everyone was getting ready, and it was going fine until John's parents asked, "What are my mom and him doing here? They're intruding on the party." They then told me I wasn't technically part of their side of the family, and that they were clear enough to say it was a family-only party. I was upset and argued back, and during all the chaos, the surprise aspect of the party kind of fell through. And basically, Kayla came back to see everyone fighting. John's parents told me I ruined the party, and they brought Kayla plus Janice and John back to their place instead to celebrate. I think what they did was unreasonable, but I also think I may be the idiot because family dynamics are complicated. I may have blown everything out of proportion. Holy cow, not the idiot. Also, it's hard to determine if John or John's parents are the bigger idiots. I lean slightly toward John for not standing up for the woman he married and saying this is my family. Like it or love it. Everything is wrong here except you, my dude. Stand your ground for you and your mom. So they were making a surprise party at your parents' place and expected you and your mother to leave during that time? That's just so much BS. Especially since they didn't seem to have any problem with you helping them set everything up. I can't believe this happened to me, but I feel like sharing it with you all. I met my wife a few years ago at work. We initially started off as just friends. I was 25 and she was 32. We all went out to celebrate my sister's birthday, and at this point my future wife, we'll call her Zira, had been dating another coworker for 2 years. Somehow in the events of the night, Zira and I were left alone and drinking together. She admitted to me that she was about to dump the guy she was with. I saw this as an opportunity, so I confessed my true feelings for her, and she felt the same way. We then started dating ever since. We kicked it on the down low to avoid drama, but I didn't think our relationship was going to last anyway. Fast forward 3 years later, and the family had accepted that we were together and were helping us plan our wedding. Everything seemed to be falling into place for us to continue our life together. After we got married, I took her to Las Vegas for our honeymoon. Our stay was scheduled to last for 1 week. On the first night there, we were playing at a cards table when Zira went on a winning streak. I wasn't having much luck and didn't want to play against her, so I told her I'd be back in about 30 minutes. When I came back, a man was sitting beside her. He looked very smart and handsome, and had apparently bought my wife a drink. I asked him to move down the seat so I could sit next to my new lead wife. He looked distressed, but not discouraged. He moved down a seat and we carried on playing. He left at one point and eventually Zira and I moved to other games in the casino. I saw the same guy again during our vacation. I tried to stay with her the whole week, but on the third and sixth days we separated for a few hours. When we caught up again on the third day, she was happy to show me all the money she won. After dinner on the sixth night, she started complaining of a severe stomach ache and told me she'd be in the bathroom for a while before rushing off. I decided to play a little while she was in there and stayed in the same vicinity. 45 minutes later, I was getting anxious. I called into the women's room for her, and there was no response. I frantically called her phone, and there was no answer. I decided to go back to our hotel room, wondering if somehow she missed me coming out of the bathroom and went to go lay down. She wasn't there. I called her over and over, even checking the location app we share, but all it could tell me was that she was still in the same casino. Even though it probably wouldn't get me anywhere, I started knocking on hotel room doors that were close to her location marker on the app. After 3 people answered the door, highly annoyed that I was looking for someone, I was about to give up. I decided to knock on one more door. Took a while before a man answered. I asked him if he saw a woman with Zira's description, and as he was telling me off, I saw her come out of the bathroom behind him, fully nude. She was absolutely shocked to see me standing there. I guess she totally forgot about the location app. Since my heart shattered to pieces, I just walked away from them both, towards my hotel room. When she called after me, her voice cracked, and she begged me to wait for her. I got back to the hotel room, and locked the additional locks so that she couldn't open it. While she pounded on the door and cried, my wheels turned. How could she be in another man's hotel room on our honeymoon? I knew I recognized him throughout the week, but how could she decide to sleep with him? Why would she do it? I couldn't breathe and dropped to the floor. I threw up. Zira heard me, and for some reason, it made her sob even more. People were gathering in the hallway watching the show. I decided to let her in so she could explain herself. She tried to jump into my arms, but I pushed her away and asked her if she was a lunatic. I ordered her to sit down and tell me what the hell was going on. She admitted that she got to know him at the cards table on the first night and told him she was married. He didn't care about that and demanded that she meet up with him later so he could show her a good time and win her some money. He gave her his number, which is why he didn't care when I returned to the table. They met up again on the second, third, and of course sixth night. I begged her to tell me why she would do this. Her face twisted into her crying, and she claimed she didn't know, that she was a foolish woman who was flattered and impressed by this man. He won her thousands of dollars throughout the week. When he asked her to come up to his hotel room, she didn't hesitate. According to her, he earned a one-time fling. Afterward, she planned to return to me as if nothing was wrong and simply show me the money she won gambling. I put on my best acting face and pretended she was a genius. I told her what she did was worth it for all the money she got from this guy. I told her not to do it again without telling me first, but that I wasn't upset with her anymore. She cried in relief and happiness. It took only minutes for her to fall asleep like all was right with the world while I snapped into action. I took the $9,754 out of her purse and all of my stuff from the hotel room. I got myself a room at a different hotel. I spent time in a hot tub while I planned my wife's downfall. As soon as my lawyer's office opened, I called him and spoke to him about getting an annulment so that it was as if I was never married to Zira. As soon as I did this, she started calling me over and over again. Before I blocked her number, she left me 2 voicemails that were mostly unintelligible because of how hard she was crying. She told me she was sorry and she knew what she did was wrong. She asked me to forgive her so that she could love me the way I deserved to be loved. I didn't tell her, but I thought to myself she was supposed to show me that from the beginning, not after she slept with another man on her honeymoon. She'd also mentioned that she didn't have any money to get home. That made me laugh. She had no trouble at all finding a man to win her money. I boarded the flight home without her. It was empowering to leave the person that betrayed me behind in another state. She called her mom and several other family members, asking them for help and telling them I left her there. As soon as they asked why I did that, she didn't have a good explanation. One by one, they got off the phone with her to message me and ask what was going on. I happily explained everything over the internet while I was on the plane home. She messaged me too, begging me to stop telling everyone that she cheated on me. I replied with, maybe you should have thought about what you were doing before doing it. My entire family greeted me at the airport, giving me hugs and support while I handled the betrayal in my heart. No one from my family ever replied to her again. As far as I know, Zira spent several days wandering around Las Vegas without a place to sleep or shower before her mom saved up enough money to buy her a plane ticket home. Her parents were so disappointed that she was no longer a married woman due to her actions that they could barely speak to her after she moved in with them. That was the last I heard about her. I don't think she has a cell phone right now. Although it was the hardest thing I ever had to go through, I still think I dodged a bullet by not having kids with her. The money I took from her helped me recover from what she did. OP. It is so wonderful to hear what a supportive family you have. When she betrayed you, they stayed by your side to show support and help you through it. You did the right thing by separating yourself when things were calm and never looking back. This woman snuck away from you to spend time with another man. No amount of money or temptation should have made that betrayal worth it to her. By justifying it, she showed she does not have the maturity needed for a lifelong commitment to someone. It is very fortunate that you got out of the marriage by an annulment and have a chance to start over. I wish you the best of luck in life. Now for today's second story. I suspected my wife was